Well, this is a lesson plan for pupils year 9 concerning a geographical issue. It's about transnational migrations, and I want my pupils to study the border between India and Bangladesh. First of all, they will have to understand how people live around a very restricted border zone. They will have to compare the standard of life in these two countries. They will understand the pull factors, and they will compare indicators. They will use sometimes different map, and I want them to understand why climate change effects may be a pull factor. Concerning English aims, I want them to speak in English to different pupils, different students. They will have to learn a specific vocabulary concerning migration, and they will have to write titles, subtitles to make a posters. I will have to write as well text on this poster to make an exhibition, and the exhibition is the final task. It's an exhibition for our middle school, but as well to meet students of upper school. We'll see why they will study another wall. Well, first I want my lesson plan to last for 5 or 6 hours. First, I use an input document. I want them to describe photos to understand how people live around a wall. They will have to use present continuous and a specific vocabulary, and to describe photos like we can do in geography. These photos are interesting because there are simple words, and sometimes there is a specific vocabulary, for example hut here, and I think it's a good input document for this reason. For example border control here, and these 4 photos are useful because we will have a bank of words, and pupils will I will write it on the board, and after they will put them in groups of 4, and they will have 4 photos. Both group has the same method. They have to describe the photo, and they have example of sentences that they can make, and they use present continuous, and this is these are examples of present continuous, and they will have specific vocabulary. If there is a missing word, I will give them, and otherwise it will be on their worksheet. Well, they will have to describe and imagine the story of these people. They will have 20 minutes, and after these 20 minutes they will explain what they've seen, what they imagine to the other pupils. When they will be on in front of the class, they will have to share the work. They will have to talk one after the other, and they will always we need a pupil to write vocabulary on the whiteboard, and the other who are listening are all as well writing the vocabulary on their notebook. Well, after this first session, they will have a Quizlet to learn the new vocabulary, and they will have an input activity, a time's up activity at the beginning of the second session. They have 12 words to learn. Well, the second session is to understand what this wall is and what is it for. And they will have I will make a role-playing activity. We'll need 4 experts and 4 or maybe 8 investigators. We'll see why. Well, they will have to understand which are the push and the pull factors in this around this border. Well, first I've got a difficult text. That's why I think that I will divide it in 2. Maybe I will use 2 experts to answer to the question of another investigator, and I've got I will give them the vocabulary, and I've got another expert with photos, and he has commentaries under these photos. And this one is easier. It's South Asia map expert, and my investigators will have this worksheet. They've got examples of questions that they can ask, and they will write the answers on the worksheet here. Okay, then they have to create the answer, and I will go. I will listen to them to see if they are asking questions. Well, at the end of the activity, at the end of this session, they will learn a new vocabulary. I made a Quizlet, and at the beginning of the third session, they will have an assessment. It will be the first assessment with a crossword. This is a crossword. They have the French word, and they will have to discover the English word. Well, the third session is more technical. They will have to compare Bangladesh and India using indicators. That's interesting because they will use numbers and comparative. Well, they've got to understand first some demographical or geographical indicators. These are the paper sheet. You can see information. It's an information gap work. Each pupil has a different handout, so that's when they speak to each other, there is a real need to listen the other. I will give them the vocabulary, but I have to explain them or remind them what is, for example, the Human Development Index, and I will show them maps. For example, here the least developed countries and the emerging countries. At the end, they will have to compare the indicators. Which one, if India is more densely populated than Bangladesh, for example, they will have to make sentence. Well, to compare. Well, at the end of this session, maybe I will have enough time to watch a part of the movie made by Yann Arthus Bertrand about Bangladesh, and maybe I will show them without any word, and they will have to tell me about what they see. They will see how densely populated is Dhaka, is this country. They will understand the problem of too much water here, with a problem of cyclones, for example, and floods. And there is an interview of Runa Khan. She says that the global warming is actually beginning in Bangladesh, and that will be interesting to make a poster about this issue. Well, we will have a fourth session in which we will create posters. They will have to write, they will have to make summaries, and it's like a final report. First of all, I will show them the assessment grid, the criteria. They have to use, we don't have many time, they got to use the time efficiently, productively, and they will have to share tasks if we want to create these 7 posters. They will have to use clear titles. They have documents, so we have to choose good documents, good link with titles. It has to be relevant and clear to understand. It has to be neat as well. It has to be the colors has to be they need a good design and a good layout of the text and the documents. And I will share the assessment of the English language. This part will be assessed by the English teacher. Well, we need original content because I don't want any copy and paste. Well, at the end of this session, I we will have 7 posters, and these posters will be exhibited in our middle school, but as well in the upper school. And I think I will use a role-playing activity, investigator, and the expert. Each one will answer questions. The upper school students will have studied the wall between USA and Mexico. Well, thank you.